A very good morning to you. Welcome to the Morning Brief right here on Channels Television. 3 days down the line in the month of July.
Already.
Just now, before you know, we'll be saying December. I'm Jeff Ruzo, and thank you as always for being part of the show. And today, we're going to serve you what you want to be served.
Absolutely. It's another sunrise. Well, sunrise will come up later. Well, we've got another opportunity to take on everything that life has to offer and, of course, to make the very best of it. We always help you make sense of it all right here on the Morning Brief on Channels Television. Good morning. Welcome, Bwala, Coca, and Jeffrey. What's the biggest for you in the last 24 hours? Of course, a lot has happened.
For me as a journalist, it's an exciting time. Because there's a lot to talk about. This is our job, to set agenda, to bring the issue to the fore, and help the people make sense of it. So it's very exciting, however I want to look at it. But what is more important for me as a person, and we continue to say it, is that in a democracy, there must be at least each time, there must be at least two alternatives or two ideal choices for people to pick from. The coalition, they said they've come together, they've chosen an SPV called the ADC, although somebody was describing it as indigent and settler crisis.
I like that.
Just like what happened in the Labour Party. So it looks like there may be some hiccups here, but perhaps they're going to overcome it, given what is playing out, say, in the PDP and the Labour Party and other ones. You know, we have about 19 political parties, so let's be clear. But in an election cycle, what we usually have are participants and contestants. In the last election, by the result, we clearly saw who were the participants and who were the contestants. So with the greatest sense of respect, we have 19 political parties. We don't know how many INEC will register yet again because 110 have applied. But the beauty of what is going on is that may we never arrive at any election cycle where the incumbent or the ruling party, we arrive at the point where we realize that it's only the ruling party that is in the ballot in terms of contest, not participation. There will always be participants, 20, 30, depending on who and who INEC is registering. But in terms of contest, we must have at least two strong contenders. And then it's now a question of who was able to rally the people around their policy, around their promises, to be able to win the day. So as a Democrat, as a journalist, as somebody who loves Nigeria, it's not just about ADC. It could be anything. Let's arrive at let's not get to 2027 and realize that, oh, it's only Bwala Tinubu that is the contestant here. No, it's not good for democracy. There should never be a time like that. Whether it's PDP, APC, SDP, what's on that, ADC, we should always come to an election cycle where we say, oh, these are at least two incredible choices, and we're going to go head-to-head, toe-to-toe, and see what we make out of it. So that's the way I look at the whole entire thing. So it's exciting times. Very
exciting, Jeffrey. The emergence or the taking shape, so to speak, of this coalition with the choice, eventual choice now of the ADC. For me, I'm wondering, okay, is this, you know, some sort of, is it all working out well for the coalition with the refusal or the inability of the coalition to get their initial choice of vehicle, that's the ADA, registered by INEC, when you consider the ADC is similar to the APC, so will that sort of work well for them at the elections? I'm just wondering, because of the similarity we've had in the past, a particular political party, and I believe in the 2019 election, that had a name similar to the ruling party and made a strong showing, albeit very minimally when compared to the major political parties. That name escapes me now, with the presidential candidate at the time.
I remember the guy, his name is, I think, Felix?
Yes, who's now working for the ruling party, by the way. But what gave for the eventual decision to adopt the ADC, particularly with the contentions coming through from some sections of the party, the presidential candidate of the party in 2023, and other blocs from other parts of the federation? What's the strength of their argument? These are very critical questions. But then again, it's the beauty of democracy showing up and showing forth. And it depends on our ability, the ability of the contenders and, you know, the people to manage all of these issues such that we can make the best of whatever choice comes through at the end of the day. but it's looking increasingly, Jeffrey, like the ruling party now has a lot to worry about. It must deploy its own unique strategy, to square up with this challenge being thrown to it by the ADC. But we're going to have all of those questions and all of those concerns, put through from those who are very close to the coalition bloc. But Jeffrey, another thing that takes interest in my mind this morning is, what's playing out at the National Assembly with the House of Representatives deciding also not to consider bills from the Senate because of the quantum of bills, of his own portion of bills at the Senate that are not being considered. And the House of Representatives have decided to do tit for tat for the Senate. Look, either way you look at it, Jeffrey, our democracy is a course of study on its own. Is this, a product of the seniority that we often wonder about the National Assembly, with some saying, look, it's the National Assembly. There is no senior chamber. There is no junior chamber. We're all lawmakers. But you and I also know that those who take up space predominantly at the Senate are governors who sort of retire to the Senate, and maybe more often than not, they consider themselves to be senior in democratic practice to those at the lower chamber, at the green chamber. They don't like to be called lower chamber.
Yeah, I understand perfectly. The people at the Senate most of the time are older, but there's no such thing as seniority. It's just the way the chamber is divided for certain kinds of responsibility. There are responsibilities that don't come to the House of Reps, that go to the Senate, like confirmation of people and all of that, and there's a reason for that. But if anybody's beginning to say because I'm in the Senate, I'm your senior, this is not SS3 versus SS2.
That's true, right?
It's not. They just have a role. There's just dual check and balance. Let's not call it dual check and balance, just to consolidate whatever decisions that are coming out of each of the national chambers, bicameral chambers of the National Assembly. But it's interesting days. I know these are just temporary hiccups. They're going to sort themselves out at the end of the day. What you were talking about, I think the guy's name I found, his name is Felix Nicholas. He's got 110,000 votes. His party was PCP. His party was just above PDP. So a lot of people were voting. So he came third in that election. We didn't even know who he was until the results were out. So
brilliant, Jeffrey. Thank you for discovering that. So I'm wondering, is that going to work out well for the ADC?
Maybe technical appellation advantage.
If people make a mistake on the ballots,
it happens.
But the thumbprinting for the ADC, they intended rather to thumbprint for the APC.
Well, for me, they are just interesting days. They are early days. For now, we're just talking about the politics, and that's what we're going to dwell on today on the program as well. At some point, we'll shift gears from the politics and begin to talk about policy. We are very clear, at least Nigerians can see clearly where the Tinubu administration stands on its policy direction. If you don't like it, what are the alternatives? That's a big question. So today, we begin the talks. Let's talk to you about what we're doing today on the program. The coalition has finally found a home. Some have said the ADA was a detour just to distract the APC. Well, they finally said our SPV right now, Special Purpose Vehicle for this coalition, is the ADC, African Democratic Congress. Well, how would that play out? What will happen? Can they unseat Bwala Tinubu in 2027? What are the alternative ideas they are bringing to the table? That is the first on our highlight today on the program.
And we're going to be staying very much with politics after that as we head to River State to check with that condition for the restoration of peace and reconciliation between the warring godfather and godson. Of course, you know, the Minister of the FCT and the suspended governor of River State. It's been eliciting a lot of debate about how fair yet another agreement on the plate this is for the restoration of democratic structures in River State. So we'll be talking with a political scientist this morning on the program to weigh in on the issues.
Yeah, there are a couple of people that will be weighing in on the program today as well, but we'll land on a very soft side of things, and that will be Nollywood. Actor as well as movie director will be joining us on the program. You want to find out who they are? Well, all you have to do is sit tight. But we're going to start off with a big talk as well. But, Bwala, what's our question for the day?
This morning, we've already given you a hint with all of the talking points. So what's our question of the day? Should the APC be worried about this coalition? Should the All Progressives Congress, that's the ruling party, be worried about this coalition taking shape, particularly ahead of 2027? What are your thoughts?
Yes
Share them
or
with
no? No, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes or no? That's how we ask. We either ask you on a scale of 1 to 10, or we do a yes or no. It's our own micro polling system here on the program. Now that the APC has found out who their potential foe, political foe will be, I don't know. The foe is in between the ADC, they are old foes and old friends. And
or if you like, familiar foes.
Familiar foes, familiar friends. And then it's an amalgamation of politicians. So should the APC be worried in 2027? That's a big question for the day. But we'll bring you the headlines from the dailies in just a moment. Stay with us. Okay, let's get to the dailies. Before we get to the conversation, Adeni Ifetayo joins us, is a public affairs analyst, bringing us up to speed as to his thoughts on the dailies. Mr. Adeni, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to join you once again.
Okay, let's begin with this Nigeria. I like the way they put it. ADC storm over new coalition. ADC storm over new coalition. Kachiku raises dust over Mark's leadership. We want to dispel story on crisis. Malami Amechi dubbed APC as Obi. El-Rufai others meet in Abuja. I don't have anything to add. What do you have to say, Mr. Adeni?
Yes, of course. If they said they want to wrestle power from the present administration, and they said let's come together regardless of the party you belong to or your political affiliation, that we should need to put our house in order to give Nigeria a better alternative. I think if people come together, they can achieve their aim. And you remember even APC coming to power, they did the same thing, you know, with people who agree from this party, from that party, you know, they all came together. But this time around, I believe they should put Nigerian welfare above their personal ambition. If they can do that, that's good. And my own worry is that also saying that you can't come through the, Kachuku saying that you can't come through the back door because you can't build something on nothing. And if you want to come, you come in and to support, to lend your voice, to give us that leadership, but not just to come and take over the party structure. I'm sure let's see what unfolds, let's see what happens as the day unfolds. It's going to get interesting leading to 2027 election. And just like you said, I was listening to you in the studio. Are they doing this as a big question? Some of their party, they're having one or two challenges or crises. But if they can put their house in order and say, let's support this particular candidate, it's not just all about me, whether it's about Peter El-Rufai or Peter B or Atiku or whatever. Let's bring out a vibrant candidate and give him all our support, or give her all our support. And that's when they can win Nigeria over, because these are the people that have been there since 1999, if I could remember.
Interesting. And there's another one just at the bottom of the big story on the front page of this Nigeria, Mr. Adeni. 46 states, 117 local government areas, creation requests before review committee. Should this form priority before the committees at the National Assembly, or do you agree that this is also a route to, you know, the destination where we're headed and where Nigerians are yearning for, actually, which would be a more equitable distribution of resources through to the, you know, smallest community in Nigeria?
I wouldn't subscribe to creation of another 46 states, but if you say more local government, so that the grassroots can be the beneficiary of resources. And you know, even since the past local government autonomy, what has been happening? What is the percentage of those local governments out of 774 that have direct access to their monthly allocation? So I don't think it's now we should be agitating for more state, but if you say more local government, so that people can feel a sense of belonging and manage their resources locally, yes, I'm subscribed to that. But for the 6 more states, it's just a way of even the one that we have, the resources, have they properly been channeled, have they properly been used as Nigeria or their state or their citizens feeling the dividends of democracy or good governance in their respective states. So, of course, if it's going to favor them, I'm sure I stand to be corrected. Those are the things they take priority on. If they are not going to benefit on it, they hardly put that to the table. But I think the welfare of Nigerians, how can they better the lot of Nigeria? Those local governments that have been in existence should be their priority, not creation of another 46 states. It's just a pity. It's just a
okay. Let's get to the new
priority to me.
Okay, let's get to the new Telegraph, Mr. Adeni. It leads with something quite different. Bwala has raised this. I said, Rep step down Senate bills. Protest delay of 146 House bills to debate creation of 46 new states, over 100, exactly 117 LGAs, 86 bills at zonal hearings. So the distribution, they have North Central 12, Southwest 8, South 7, Northwest 7, Northeast 6, Southeast 6. So yet again, but what is catches my attention is this, will you call it tit for tat situation between the House of Reps and the Senate, saying that we have bills for maybe concurrence and you're not doing anything about it. So if you want us to consider any bill, attend to us first. Isn't that a valid argument?
Yes, it's a valid argument, because you can't say that I should continue to pat you at the back and why you neglect mine. You can't say I should continue to attend to your own business of the day while you abandon mine. They say nothing goes for nothing. But I think the leadership can come together since it's coming to this. And all these bills we are talking about, majority is how to make the life of Nigerians better. I don't think they should be toying with that. And just like you said, it's not a matter of I'm your senior colleagues or I'm your junior colleagues. I'm sure they are doing the work of legislative. It's just that one has more function than the other. But if it's your responsibility, what you are elected, what you are choosing to do, I don't think you should abandon your duty just because of a personal aggrandizement or just what you feel that because I'm the senator, I can do what I like. Well, I think it's a valid something they are saying. You look at our own bills and let's move the nation forward.
Let's go to the Daily Sun now, Mr. Ifetayo. And besides doubling down on the big story of the day, which is the emergence or the taking shape of this coalition through ADC, listen to this coalition. Atiku faces fresh crisis at ADC. Faction rejects ex-VP Mark Aregbesola, others. Party not for sale. Nwosu scam them. That's ascribed to Kachiku. Do you foresee, Mr. Adeni, litigations in the path of the coalition in the coming days? Or is it going to be a walk in the park as they continue to use this SPV to field the ambition of rescue Nigeria?
It's not going to be a walk in the park. There will be a lot of litigation, and because the way they came in and just took over the party structure, if we are to be that, okay, we want to form a coalition, you are from PDP, you are from APC, or from this party or that party, let's come up with a name and register it. That might be better for them. But just come into a party, hijack the whole structure, that's what has been the case. Even in some states, when we see that maybe a political figure join another political party, it's going to be a tough one, because like they said, you can't just come in through the backdoor and just take over the structure. If you're a tenant, remain a tenant before you build your own house. You can't just suddenly come in and become a landlord all of a sudden. But anyway, interesting days are ahead of us. There's going to be a lot of litigation. But hopefully they can just put their house in order if they have the interest of Nigerians at heart.
All right, I think the Vanguard is also leading with a big one as well. The argument as to the people in the coalition is that if you look at INEC's website, for instance, Rafun Wosu and his team are still the leadership, are still in the leadership of the ADC. So I listened to Dumebi Kachiku talking about it yesterday, and maybe INEC will make a decision. But the coming days are quite interesting. I think we've spoken a lot about this coalition, which is a bigger story. But beyond that, just beneath it, we have hunger, inflation, fueling insecurity. Methodist prelate tells Tinubu. And just behind that as well, if you see the Sun, as well as the IMF advising the federal government to review its budget. Basically, what they're talking about is to the fact that the budget is over-optimized in terms of assumption. So we're estimating $75 per barrel, for instance, for the price of crude, and we're projecting 2 million. But in terms of the production, we're still far. That is crude oil, not condensate and crude oil. Just the little reprieve we had was the Iran-Israel war, where we were hitting almost 80. But primarily, the oil price has actually stayed around 64, 63, sometimes it gets to 68. So IMF is saying review, maybe even bring it lower, so that you don't have significant deficit because of over-ambition. Let me use a common term. What do you make of it?
Yeah, let me start with hunger and inflation, fuel insecurity. They said an hungry soul is an angry soul. You understand? So when people are not having their basics, there tends to be manipulated or to take law into their hands. And also, when you continue to do the same thing, you are not getting results. It's advisable you review, you re-strategize, and come back to the table. What IMS is saying is that, yes, these have been your plan in the beginning, and since it's not working because of the lower increase in the price of crude oil or tension in the Middle East and all of that, review it. I think it's a good thing they should do. I'm sure you and I, I was last week, we were talking about the performance of 2024 budget, the increase, the data, what has been the utilization. And so those are the things that is begging for questioning. Go back to the drawing board. What are the things that have been working? How can we improve on that? What are the things that are not working? Let's review, just like a SWOT analysis. What have been our strengths? What are the opportunities? Just to make sure Nigerians have a better life and they can afford the basics. It is a good one if federal government can, humble themselves and review whatever policy that they are doing, the one that is working, the one that's not working, the one that Nigeria needs. Because as our physics are different, so also our needs. They are comfortable, but Nigeria are feeling the pain. So they should listen to the voice of Nigeria. And IMF saying that review your budget, change whatever that needs to be changed, and so that the nation can continue to move on the forward or progress trajectory.
Fantastic, Mr. Fetayo. Thank you so much. Denny Fetayo is a public affairs analyst and a journalist. Thank you so much for bringing your insight and expertise into the conversation. As I was telling Bukola, as a journalist, it's interesting days ahead for us because there's a lot to talk about. the scenario is getting this shape. But now we'll just stay with the politics. We'll get to issues around ideology and policies later. Thank you, sir, for coming on the program.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to be here once again.
Okay, in just a moment, we will start that conversation. The special advisor to the president on policy communications, Daniel Bwala, is already waiting for us. I'll get to that conversation, but let's get to the front page of the social media. The front page of the social media is where we would like to start from, and just maybe one or two of them before we get to that conversation. And that has to do with the governor of Abia State actually talking about, I think it was, people were asking him, you're the only Labour Party governor. We can see the presidential candidate of your party joining the coalition or attending a coalition meeting. We even saw Aisha Yusufu, one of the most vocal voices of the obedience and all of that in that meeting. So where do you stand as far as the issue of coalition is concerned? Are you joining? Are you staying back? What exactly is going on? But let's take a listen to Dr. Alex Oti.
I also have a right to state that I am still a member of Labour Party. And I'm not looking for where to become to. No. The second point is about coalition. And a lot of people have been asking, oh, are you a member of the coalition? And my response is, have you seen my name? Have you seen me attend any coalition meeting? So we're just busy doing the work that other people have given us. So we're not attending any coalition meeting. I've not attended one. Nobody has invited me. So I know some members of the council have also asked just for information. And my response is that I've not attended any. Nobody has invited me. And I'm happy where I am. Yeah, we had issues. A lot of people had.
Well, that's Dr. Alex Oti, the governor of Abia State. Say, I'm happy where I am. Nobody has invited me. I'm not part of it. I want to focus on my job. Well, the coming days will tell. But let's find out what you're saying. Bwala Labanji says, in Nigerian politics, anything anyone can change overnight. That you are LP today does not mean you will be LP tomorrow. Oh dear, very true, very, very true. So let's go to the next one. CFC_collector. This is coming from CFC_collector. It says, Alex Oti is a wise man. He doesn't want to set himself up. Man is either waiting to join APC or allow the coalition to become strong before going, maybe joining them. That's what he wanted to say. He does not want the Fubara treatment. Wow. That says a lot. But those are your comments as well, as far as the issue of Dr. Alex Oti being very clear as to what it is for him today. He has not joined the coalition. He said that he has not even been invited for talks. For now, he's focused, he's comfortable where he is. But let's also tell you how, of course, all of the people, literally everybody who is part of the coalition, will eventually move to the ADC, which is SPV right now for the coalition of opposition parties movement. So Rotimi Amechi, the man who was a member of the PDP from the outset in 1998 or 1999, he served as two-term speaker under Peter Odili, became a two-term governor, and then became a two-term minister under Muhammadu Buhari. And for the last 2 years after that primaries, he came second actually in the primaries that he contested against President Bwala Tinubu. He came second, I think Yemo Shibaje, the vice president, came third or so, while the president took the ticket of the party. But since then, there has been that back and forth. Well, he has finally resigned to join the ADC, leaving the APC. So this is coming from anime_W3EB. Said, now we wait for the part where he will move to ADC. That's the plan, I guess. 2027 will be an interesting year. We may be hearing from Amechi sooner than you expect, so calm down. We're going to hear everything he has to say as far as the issue of movement is concerned. But those are some of your thoughts as far as the social media space is concerned. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, Daniel Bwala, special advisor to President Bwala Tinubu on policy communications, is right here to respond, maybe the first response or some of the first responses on TV from the presidency to the issue of the coalition. Join us in just a moment. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to the Morning Brief on Channels Television, and rightly so, as Jeffrey has said, a lot of talking to do in the coming days with the coalition taking shape, adopting the ADC as its political party to field its interest in 2027. But more importantly, a lot of thinking and sieving through this process to do as well. And let's start off with that exactly. And Mr. Daniel Bwala joins us virtually from London. He is a special advisor to the president on public communication. Mr. Bwala, thank you so much for joining us on the program.
Thank you. Good morning.
Yes, indeed. Good to see you. Some say that this has sent jitters through the camp of the APC, Mr. Bwala. Is that the case? Are Mr. President's aides rallying around and running around, and indeed those in the APC camp as well, to see how best to respond to this in terms of strategy?
Well, thank you for having me. It's in the midst of all of this, but I think that the key players are the Nigerian people, and they are seeing the political activities and the movement, the motives and the motivation. And they can tell whether it is a motivation that is driven by inordinate ambition or by a correct desire to help the Nigerian people. But first, let us start by defining who they are. That coalition. It is an association of wild goose chasers consisting of internally displaced politicians forming a dead on arrival political party, better described in the words of Peter Obi as a structure of criminality. That is the definition of the coalition. The second thing is, you will know in Hausa that existed, they say you will know a better Friday on Wednesday. What they have done can be described as hostile takeover. A hostile takeover is a forceful takeover of a party or organization by another organization. Unfortunately for them, what would have qualified for the legality of their conduct would have been if they have the 50% at least the voting share of the party they are seeking to take over from. But from yesterday's objection by Kachiku, it appears that the hostile takeover is not consistent with due process of law. And that actually talks about, or rather reveal, the personality and motive of the coalition. We welcome opposition, but whatever you do, you should do it well. A coalition that comes illegally to take over another political party in a hostile manner cannot have the interests of the Nigerian people. We will later talk about the capacity of each of those individuals that come together, and we will tell you the difference between this coalition and the coalition that took over power in 2015.
But Mr. Bwala, are you being fair if you describe this coalition as a conglomerate of wild goose chasers, particularly if we went down memory lane and recall the rallying of political parties who formed a merger to become the All Progressives Congress? Some would have said that, you know, the actors at the time saw the future. And today we have, you know, the administration of the APC, in fact, the second, if you consider President Muhammadu Buhari from 2015 to 2023, and now President Bwala Tinubu of the same APC government. So aren't they being clairvoyant as well, knowing the strategy to deploy to unseat a ruling government?
No, they are not being clairvoyant. They are actually being hypocritical, deceptive, and manipulative. And I tell you the difference between these two coalitions. In 2015, events leading to the 2015 election from 2013, that coalition was the coming together of political parties of interest who in their legacy form didn't have a problem. In fact, they came up strong. So whether you look at the ACAD, ANPP, ABGA, all of those individuals that came together, one, they didn't have any problem in the parties that they were bringing into the board. This coalition don't have a party they are bringing. It is a group of internally displaced politicians. The second thing is, in the build-up to the 2015, that coalition had a clear-headed idea as to who will lead and then what exactly they were going to do. They were not satisfied with the happenings in the government at the time. They could really see that the people, the Nigerian people, were fed up with Goodluck Jonathan's government. They had a well-defined plan on what they will do when they take over power, and in their respective rights, they had a clear vision of where they are going. If you look at this coalition, so to speak, why I use the word internally displaced politicians is that what is bringing them together has nothing to do with the aspirations of the Nigerian people. It has more to do with their feelings of how either they were treated or how they were not able to get what they wanted, which was the basis for them coming together. For example, in the 2015 coalition, you will not find a case scenario like that of Erufai, where somebody is leaving a political party and is saying that I brought evil and I want to take out evil. You will not also find an element like that of Peter Obi, who has scammed the obedient movement, because what we're hearing is that they say they have been scammed. The contract that brought the Peter Obi and the obedient movement under the umbrella of Labour Party was that Peter Obi was going to be the flag bearer of the party. They had a clear vision that Peter Obi would be president. Right now in the coalition, Peter Obi has conceded, but has given away his ambition to be the president. So it is a case of 419 from that angle. From the angle of my former principal, Atiku Abubakar, he's leaving a party where a lot of people will tell you they have not seen him display the leadership to fight through until he conquers the challenge. And so people will feel, if you run away from a political party when you could have easily stayed and solved the problem, when the Nigerian problem is more than just a political party, what evidence do we have that if tomorrow Nigeria develops a problem, you will run away? So if you look at Amechi, for example, you will know that when Amechi lost the primaries, Amechi never proceeded to support Ashwaji towards the election. So I can keep calling 1-1-1-1-1, and you will see that their motivation has no correlationship with the feelings and the aspirations of the Nigerian people, but it has more to do with their own thinking and their own plans to achieve what they have always wanted, which is to grab power in the hope that they will enjoy the booties of power.
So, Mr. Bwala, wouldn't it be hasty to begin to conclude on some of the persons you've talked about? For instance, they've said they've not come to the item on the table that has to do with who gets what. In fact, the leadership is an interim leadership from where they sit. So for now, nobody knows who is going to be the running mate. Nobody knows who the flag bearer is. I think they're just keeping the APC guessing as far as this whole coalition is concerned. And perhaps the difference between this and 2014, maybe this is a coalition. That was a merger, literally, that unseated a government. I would like you to speak to that. But I want to, something that David Mark, the former Senate president, said. He said, the coalition is to rescue Nigeria from collapse, rebuild democracy. When you hear such things, what do you think he means? What do you think he sees? What do you think they are saying?
Yeah, one of the characteristic of a revolutionary, or you can say messiah, or a problem solver, is that the person is not part of the problem or created a problem. You remember the theory by Albert Einstein that you cannot solve a problem by starting the problem. You have to have a new mind and new thinking. If you look at those people who are forming the coalition, either they were part of the situation they are claiming to be walking away from, or in fact, they were the actual problem that brought about the Republic of All Progressives Congress. There is none of them that is a phenomenon. And that is why I am telling you that they are not like a clap of thunder out of a blue sky. With respect to whether it is early to prejudge who is going to be the flag bearer and the rest, I mean, all of their meetings are in what we talk about in plain sight. All of their meetings, and I can tell you today that there are coalition of political voices. There is one part of the political voice that suggests Atiku will be the running mate, Atiku will be the flag bearer, Peter Obi will be the running mate. There is another school that is agitating for Peter Obi to be the flag bearer, Erufai to be the running mate. There is another school of thought that is pushing for Atiku to be the flag bearer, Rotimi Amechi to be the running mate. And there is the fourth school that is waiting for a retired general to decide for them who are going to be the leaders and the running men. I mean, one of the things that I have learned in life is that you cannot achieve anything in life if you don't define where you're going to right off the cuff. So to form an association where you don't even know where you're going to clearly tells that it is going to be the coming together of forces. And that's why it led to what we call the forceful or hostile takeover of a political party.
All right.
That's how they will take over the lives of the Nigerian people in a hostile manner.
All right, Mr. Bwala. Isn't what you're describing even their own strategy? Because you're smartly, breaking down things as much as possible, but they may still be in the realm of guesses. Perhaps it's their strategy to keep the APC camp guessing. So what exactly is this? Do they have ideology? But in addition, I would like you to respond to that. In addition to that response, you can't wish away Atiku Abubakar and Amechi, the role they played to unseat a sitting government that they were part of. They went against their principal, who was the president, and they helped the APC, that merger, to be able to be in power now 10 years. You cannot wish away El-Rufai, the role he played in ensuring that Asiwaju Bola Tinubu became the flag bearer of the party. He literally put himself out there and all of that. So are you going to, so two things. Can you wish away this influence they brought, given their track record in terms of politicking specifically? Right. And again, perhaps their strategy is to keep you guessing.
Right, without sounding boastful, there is no scenario that they will come up with that will defeat Asiwaju Bola Tinubu, and let me give you my reason. Let us start with Atiku Abubakar, who appears to be the strongest of them. Well, he is a patriotic citizen, but the truth of the matter is that evidence has shown that he may not have been designed to be Nigeria's president. And his biggest opportunity in life came in 2023. He will never have that opportunity again. And he was defeated by President Bola Tinubu. If you take it to El-Rufai, who could not even pass the test to be a minister in our government, cannot be a threat to our president. If you come to Rotimi Amechi, remember Asiwaju Bola Tinubu defeated Rotimi Amechi in the primaries, and Asiwaju came from as an outsider. Rotimi was a minister, super minister in the government, who had all the support of instruments in the government, yet Asiwaju defeated him in the primaries. Which other fellow in their group that you could say that has not had an encounter where Asiwaju gave them a portion of their defeat? So what scenario are you, now even I believe, even if the Constitution and Electoral Act permits all these people you mentioned, about 6 or 7 of them, to come together as the running mate and the candidates and the running mate, I am telling you, none of those scenarios will defeat Asiwaju. Let me tell you our strongest case in this. Nigerians are not prepared to go back to fuel subsidy. And that's what these people are about, where there will be the pilfering of the resources of Nigeria, where it will be the recycling of policies that have not helped us. Nigerians are not ready. Nigerians have gone past, in a way, the toughest and the most difficult moment of our history, which is the when we are laying the foundation for economic recovery. And the fundamentals of our economy are intact. We came $35 billion, $33 billion in the foreign reserve. We have over 40 billion foreign reserve. We have seen over 300,000 people benefiting from government scholarship. We have seen infrastructural development in every part of Nigeria. Which of the governors will support them? In 27 governors could not pay salaries before Asiwaju became president. Now they have more than enough to pay salaries, to do infrastructure, to pay their debt, and to move on. They cannot go back to individuals who are focusing on subsidy where there will not be increased allocation to the state. So this is when the time comes, we will come to the market, which is going to be a trade fair. Let me tell you without sounding boastful, I don't belong to the school of thought that would dismiss any opposition. I will never be forever. But the time will come when we will be asked to bring our facts on the table. And I will tell you that they are nothing new. They don't have any clear vision of what they want to do. They just want to grab power because they feel the temptation to grab power will bring them to relevance, will make them acquire wealth, or in a vengeful way. How can El-Rufai, for God's sake, say I brought Asiwaju to government, evil to government, and I'm taking him out? So he has this total disregard for the voters, total disregard for democratic values, total disregard to the very essence of what democracy is, which is power to the people, and they exercise their powers through the vote, and their representative represent them. These are individuals, but they are dictators, they are autocrats, and they are only in this for the power and for the resources, but not about the good of the Nigerian people. They have not been able, Mr. Uzoma, they have not been able in 2 years to provide alternatives to what we are doing. I challenge them. They have not been able to provide. So when are they going to think about what they will do after they grab power? So these are some of the few reasons, some of the elements that granted me the conviction that they are going nowhere.
Well, Mr. Bwala, members of the opposition have appealed for patience, saying that they're aggregating their ideas, and of course they're going to provide an alternative to the policies of this administration that you're talking about. But speaking of democratic values, you say that this administration is not opposed to opposition. But we saw that in spite of the challenge in 2013 with registration, eventually INEC registered the merging of political parties to become APC. But the difference is the case here now, because the story is to the effect that the coalition was unable to register the ADA, and due to, what some would consider minor omissions in their applications, application that could have been sorted. And the word electoral, for instance, is what is being cited, and hence the resort to the ADC. Can we go with the strong perception being held that the government of President Tinubu is using institutions to muzzle opposition?
So we see, even from what you said, I can rely on what you have said against them. You call it minor problems. Why should they even have the problem in the first place if they are competent and they know what they are doing? Ordinary registering a political party, they have not been able to do that. How can they register the destinies of the Nigerian people? And number two, they are coming to Gonda order a political party without a well-defined. For example, we in the governing party, we are not INEC. And we all know that the name of the party is insignificant if the individuals forming the party, they have the support and the aspirations of the people. And this tells me that these people are unprepared. One, I told you about not being able to define what they want to do. Two, I told you about they are having a confusion as to who will lead, who will not lead. Three, we are even having the issue of clearly when I talked about not providing alternative, and you said probably it is later. How can you do it later? Even at the formative stage, you have not been, because the definition of your vision and mission will be encapsulated in the objective of the party you seek to register or party you want to take over from. They also don't have. And the last of it all, even the party you wanted to go and register, you are committing errors here and there. Don't the Nigerian people, or should the Nigerian people expect anything else to understand this is a total expression of the incompetence and lack of vision? But we go past that one because we believe in the substance, not just the form. Let them come to the field. Let's talk. You see, none of them came from abroad. All of them have governed at one time or the other. So there is a record to talk about. And you cannot tell me you bring a change when you have not brought a change to where you led in the past. In fact, let me put this to you very strongly. Since after Asiwaju won the election till today, what activities can you point at that these people have been doing to alleviate the sufferings of the Nigerian people, to show empathy and concern to the people? So is it when you have acquired power before you begin to show? Because in their individual rights, they are rich. One of them was even saying that he's poor and he's suffering. In the beginning, they are beginning with deception, telling the Nigerian people they are suffering. So everything right off the cuff from the foundation tells you that there is insincerity, there is lack of transparency, and there is no clear idea as to where to go. And the reason why there is no idea is not like they cannot have. Some of them have governed. It's because the motive behind their coming together has nothing to do with the aspiration of the Nigerian people. And I tell you this today, you can mark it. I will come to your studio, God keeping us alive, and tell you I told you that the Nigerian people will reject them overwhelmingly because they don't look like it's like the hand of Jacob and whatever, the voice of Jacob and the hand of Esau. They don't look at that phenomenon that the Nigerian people are thinking they need for the future. No, they don't look at it. It is a fakeness that is packaged to give Nigerian people the impression that this is a departure from what is going on, or this is a new idea, because they have not been able to express the idea.
Mr. Bwala, it's interesting your position. Isn't that the reason political parties are formed? To take over power and push their own ideas.
Isn't that the reason political parties are formed, to come together and take over power? I remember there was a video that emerged that the president was saying, you don't just, nobody will give you power. You fight for it, you grab it. I'm sure you remember that video. At that time, you were still in the PDP. So isn't that the reason for coming together, at least to form a political party to now profile whatever solution they want to profile. And that's on one hand. Are you by any chance, or is the presidency by any chance, underestimating this ADC coalition?
No, you see, they just formed. So we haven't had the time to assess and then express whether it is underestimating or overestimating. But what we are looking at are the individuals that came together. The party cannot be greater than the individual members. You see, the party cannot be greater than the idea that is pushed by individual members that came together under the party. So, and we are already seeing faulty foundation right off the core. The forceful takeover, the deception that followed, no clear-cut idea as to where you're going. How can you come together? Like, I agree with you, political parties coming together, but it's a coming together of people of ideas. If I ask you, what is the idea behind their coming together? Other than they want to collect power or saying that they want to reshape Nigeria, I challenge the media. None will tell me one clear idea, one issue.
Mr. Bwala, my apologies. When we asked, Mr. Bwala, when we asked yesterday, my apologies for cutting into your thought. When we asked yesterday, they said these are early days. Let them come together first and present their program or their ideas. So we actually did ask that question as to the effect that we need to start talking about alternative idea. The presidency and the president has taken a neoliberal approach in our economy, and we can all see what it is. And they're saying, no, it's too early for that. Let's come together, let's amalgamate, and then we'll get to that conversation.
Shouldn't that alone, you see, any case that they bring as their best case is even the reason why they should not be supported. You see, because one, shouldn't Nigeria, the Nigerian people and the press be worried that somebody said he doesn't have idea of where he's going yet, but when they come together, they will tell you the idea? Is a clear sign. I teach leadership. It's a clear sign that the end is uncertain. It's a clear sign that there is no definition as to where you go. Everything in life starts with the vision. Vision in their respective group in the first place. In the first place, before they even start to aggregate themselves. And then when they come together, there must be a fundamental. In the event leading to 2015, what the coalition said was that Goodluck Jonathan was clearly mismanaging the resources of Nigeria. They said the insecurity situation at the time was palpable, and Jonathan was living in denial because he did not even believe that there was a kidnap of the Chibok girls. They went ahead to say that public officers under Jonathan are living a reckless life, abusing political office. They went ahead and say Jonathan seemed to, by his conduct, show that he is captured and under hostage. Now, then they proceeded to say that they have a plan of bringing social welfare to the Nigerian people by critically looking at the energy sector and ensuring that it is rejigged so it can deliver on the promise to the Nigerian people. They were clear about their vision, clear about the idea. Now, Peter Obi was asked about 3 weeks ago in a program, Charles Anagoli's program on Arise, as to whether he believes the removal of the subsidy and floating of the Naira is legal or that he could have done something differently. He agreed that what we did was correct. He said, but he would have done it differently. They asked him, how differently would you have done? Believe me, he started singing and was not able to give the alternative to what we said. Atiku Abubakar, my former principal, most respectfully, said he was going to remove the subsidy gradually. That is a faulty one, because how gradual are you going to remove the subsidy? Up till date, they have not been able to define when there is no resources. So who else? The rest of them, Rufai's anger is, I brought Tinubu, I will remove him. He's even more arrogant in the way he talked about. Like the Nigerian people are not part of the conversation. I brought them, I will take them out.
Well, Mr. Bwala, some would say that even the execution of the policy under this administration has not fulfilled its purpose to the extent that many are asking where's the subsidy savings. But that's not where I'm headed. Where I'm headed is you have called the individuals who have formed this opposition many names in the last 15 minutes or so. But are you forgetting also that a number of them were key members of the ruling All Progressives Congress at different times? And some would say that, they're all responsible for where we are today, including members of your own government currently.
Right, but you see, when you said some people will say, we have removed subsidy, where is the savings? Are you not seeing it in plain sight? The saving is what has led to the increased allocation to the state that has created enormous resources that they were able to pay. They are able to pay salaries consistently and on time. They're able to settle their debt, whether foreign or domestic. They are able to improve on those infrastructure. There are states I can point at, time will not permit us, to tell you what they are doing. The president has gone around the country, both states that are led by our party members, states in Labour, like for example, Labour Party, Uti has attested to that, Mba in Enugu has attested to that, Soludo of Abga has attested. Across party lines, they agree that the steps taken by the president has brought robust resources to them. That's the subsidy setting. So how about the grants that were given to people for study? That's where the subsidy removal has led to. What about the infrastructure all across the country, left, right, and center? That's where the subsidy money. So there is a implementation of the savings of subsidy in the eyes of the people. We would have thought if they want, I can coach them on how to play opposition. Of course, you know, after the election when I was on PDP, I was a lone ranger in the media critiquing each and every policy of the party, providing alternative. To me, political association, the only way you can show to the people that it's an association for the good of Nigeria is when you can define what you're doing. The days of grabbing power are over. These are the days where if you don't have idea, you cannot be given the trust of the Nigerian people. You talked about some of them were in our party. Of course, that is life. I don't have anything against their individual character. That's the last thing I would do. I never believe in that. I'm talking about issues. And the issue starts with idea. Everything in life starts with an idea. This Channels Television, where you are successfully established, started with idea, with the chairman. He was working somewhere, he came up with an idea of a new way of doing television. And anybody who sees channels together with other television can talk about distinctive difference between Channels Television and the other television. Everything rises and falls on idea. If you don't have idea of where you're going and you say it is when we get to the bus stop, we will have idea, or that we want to keep people surprised, we'll keep the ideas in our mind, is because the idea in your mind is acquisition of power, is control of the state resources, is vengeance and vendetta, and it is also the expression of your reaction to the fact that this government has stopped the areas we've been fed with. Look at some of the people that serve under Buhari. How can somebody who has served as Attorney General for 8 years, what idea did you bring in the 8 years? And now you say in a new idea you bring ideas. Come on, come on.
Well, Mr. Bwala, more questions arise on your point about increased allocation to the subnationals. There are a lot of questions in that space.
It is for politics.
But that's for another day. We must anchor at this point. And thank you so much for your time and contributions to this conversation. The matter about the coalition is clearly an ongoing conversation. Mr. Daniel Bwala is a special advisor to the governor, to the president rather, on policy communication. I know you're going to take me up on that. He's a lawyer and special advisor to the president on policy communication. Thank you so much, Mr. Daniel Bwala, for your time on the program.
Merci. Thank you.
So we'll take a break now. There's more politics to talk about. This time we head to River State. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Welcome back. Let's continue to talk about the state of our nation. You can see our guest already joining us. Professor Jide Ofo-Adibe is a professor of political science and international relations at the Nasarawa State University in Kefi in Abuja studios. Also, Mr. Jacob Pele is the CEO and founder of TAF Africa, joining us virtually from the United States. Gentlemen, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. So I personally like to talk about politics and politicking. At least we're not talking about insecurity and killings, although mismanagement of politics can lead to that. But at least now we're talking about ideas and movements and maneuverings, as we've seen. Let's start with you, Prof. While we listen, I'm sure you listened to part of what Daniel Bwala, who is an essay to the president on policy communications, tried to pick holes in some of the things that the coalition is doing. And I did ask him a question about whether or not the guesses that appears to be coming from the APC. It's also a strategy by the ADC not to know where they are headed. But what do you make in terms of the characterization of this new SPV called the ADC by the coalition of opposition parties? Prof, that's for you.
Yeah, thank you very much. I was listening to Mr. Daniel Bwala, especially where he said that the people coming together had no idea of what they were doing and had nothing to offer the country. I just laughed and said, just about 2 years ago, he was arguing that Atiku was the best thing to happen to the country, you know, believing he was the best of all the packs. And within a short space of 2 years, he had turned 360 degrees. And all I could say to myself was, thank God I'm not a politician. Coming back to the ADC, let me start by giving them credit because they seem to have deployed a strategy of what you can call decoy. It seems that the government of the day was kept deliberately in the dark of their moves, knowing that there will be all efforts at torpedoing whatever they plan to do. So severally, we read in the newspapers, coalition hits a rock, and suddenly they came with this idea of ADC. It's still not uhuru for them, but I think to the extent that they're able to get to this level, I think we should also give them credit. And when you look at the people behind this ADC, some people call it maybe hostile takeover. The people behind them, you look at David Mark, he was one of the key executioners of Babangida coup, a retired brigadier general, the longest serving senior president in the country, served for 8 years, a former governor of Niger State. At 77, there's nothing you can use to frighten him. Arebo Shola is credited with being the brain behind that Tinubu losing Osun State. Then you look at Peter Obi. Don't be deceived by his tiny voice and his gentle mien. His nickname is Okute, that means rock. As governor of Anambra State, he restored and neutralized the political godfathers. You look at El-Rufai. You may not like him. I agree, he's a very, very polarizing figure. But nobody can dismiss the fact that he's a man of tremendous courage and a man of technocratic skills. Rotimi and Amechi fought Jonathan government to a standstill. So these are people who are also tested. Of course, they know it's not Uhuru because we're already seeing, a replay of the Arabambi and Lamidi Apapa scenario. We started reading about Dumebi Kachukwu, who ran as the presidential candidate of the ADC in 2023, saying that he was going to go to court. I mean, this can be expected. This is the only thing that can give him a headline. He came from nowhere, became ADC presidential candidate. And I'm sorry to say this, for what seems to be essentially an ego trip. I'm not sure he even got more than a handful of votes in his polling unit. Now he has come back now to say that he was going to court, he's against any takeover of his party. And then I'm sure the APC and the government of the day will be very happy to oxygenate and amplify his narrative. So but I do believe that the people behind the ADC, the new people, they are not unaware of the fact that it's not going to be an easy victory. So in the coming days and coming months, we are going to be watching out for the hide and seek game between the two camps, between the camps of the government of the day and those supporting the coalition.
Really, the same question, but in a different way, zeroing in on one of the key actors in this coalition, and that would be the Labour Party presidential candidate in the 2023 election, Mr. Peter Obi. He had said that the only coalition that he's involved in is the one against hunger, poverty, starvation. But we see him now as a key figure in this coalition. What are your thoughts on what this may do to his cult following because of the concern about the many big egos in the room? Should he specifically now take up vice presidential role in the presentation of the key officers, that would be the candidate and the VP in 2027 for this ADC SPV. Mr. Pele, that's for you.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, we're watching a political melodramatic performance by politicians in Nigeria. Talking about P2B, I think he needs to watch it because he gathered momentum and created an incredible coalition or political movement that especially the youth democracy, demography in Nigeria embraced. He needs to be very careful. I look at him as one who is between the rock and the hard place. I don't know if it will be wise on his part to take on the role of a vice president or even a presidential candidate in the emerging political scenario, which is the more or less like a convergence of all the political bigwigs in Nigeria into one new political entity. We don't know what the outcome will look like. The politics of money still plays role in Nigeria. Anyone with the deepest pocket would find his way to the echelon of leadership. And so, that said, P2B needs to watch it. The obedient movement is not as strong as what, by my own recording, is not as strong as what it used to be. There is infiltrators on the part of either the current ruling party or the oppositions around it. So one wrong move would take away all his political dividends and accolades. And so he needs to watch it. I don't know where he's going to. Peter Obi seems to be somebody who have discovered that he has gathered political momentum and may not want to become a second fiddle, a situation where if he takes to that, he may lose the huge following, especially within the youth demography. So it's neither here nor there. As the day goes by, we watch the outcome of what I see as political theater, which Nigeria is fast becoming. And we're losing grip on the tenets of democracy. Our democratic values are being challenged, and we don't seem to have a clear-cut visionary direction. And that is something that is very worrisome as not just watchers of our political emergence in the country, but one who is deeply involved. My organization has been providing very strong support to a number of political institutions. And so it's something that really gives us a lot to write home about, knowing fully well that we're simply playing to the gallery when it comes to democratic excellence.
Prof, let's come back to you because it's a two-part conversation. One is what we're talking about, the coalition, and then we'll head to what's playing out in Rivers. But let's stay with the issue of the coalition for a bit. And that has to do with what you think is the thinking in the room as far as that, because there are so many, these are different people. It's an amalgamation of interests. So they want to condense it into one. And when politicians are looking at elections, politicians don't see elections like the average Nigerian sees elections. So the average Nigerian, from my thinking, looks at who is the most suitable candidate that can give us the dividend of democracy, good governance, and all the many things we've always asked for many years. But the politicians don't start from there. They start from who can win the election. So I give you a scenario. In the bank, 6.9 million votes is what Atiku is bringing to the table. In the bank, 6.1 million votes is what Peter Obi is bringing to the table. In the bank, South-South and Southeast was won by Peter Obi. In the bank, Northeast was the place that Atiku Abubakar won. So I just gave this numerics just as a background to what you feel should be the thinking in the room if they have a chance to challenge, not participate in 2027, but contend power with Bola Tinubu in 2027. Prof.
I don't think, even if they have such a strategy, if such conversations are going on now, I don't think they will let it out. And I think it's actually very premature for some of us to start looking at such permutations. You're right. Today, I don't think there is any politician from, that has as much charisma, at least from the southern part of this country, or south, and southeast, more than P2B. So he's his own bargaining chip. And it's obvious that he's making inroads into other places. And then there is also the issue of rotation of presidency. So there are so many things they have to take into consideration. And of course, the fact that some people have been, people like Atiku Abubakar who say, I have no, age is not on my side. So we watch out and see. During the APC arrangement, people thought that their arrangement was going to implode on the basis of sharing of who will be the top and who will be the bottom of the ticket. It didn't, I mean, they managed to overcome that hurdle. There are always extenuating circumstances we have to watch out. And I don't think we have already arrived at that. They are both looking at the moves and counter moves. And who says that this ADC may not even be a decoy? Don't forget that they started by SDP when El-Rufai moved into the SDP. And I remember it was in this studio that I said that El-Rufai acted too emotionally and that he showed his hand too early. Now the SDP was no longer seen as a credible vehicle, or even if it was just meant to be flying a kite. And they are talking about ADC. It is also possible that there may be more than one coalition coming out of this. And a kind of an arrangement will be reached towards the election. And all permutations are on the table. And I believe that all the key players in that conversation, they have their options B, option C. And that they are not sure, none of them, I believe, politicians hardly show all their hands. So it's, we shouldn't be at this time worried or talking about who gets the top and who doesn't get, because the government is also dependent on how much the government's response, the APC's response to these moves. And by the time we get to a certain stage, and probably there is a reverse migration of people moving from APC, if the ADC manages to make itself credible, then there's bound to be reverse migration, which will be self-perpetuating. And once that happens, as happened with the APC, it becomes actually clear, it will become self-evident on where the direction, who probably will be given the ticket. But right now, things are still in a state of flux. And you can see people like Governor Oti saying, look, I remain in Labour Party. And everybody is very, very careful to see the direction, the moves and counter moves. And as Pella said, it's a political theater, and we have to watch it and see the direction. We have to properly get the storyline and be able to predict how the story will, pan out.
And you're right on the money, Prof. The storyline is still evolving. Let's go to another political theater now. And it's curious that the pendulum, swings to you, Mr. Pele, your own home state. Many have been talking about the conditions or the reports of the conditions given for the restoration of democratic institutions in River State as being too steep and causing the suspended governor to lose too much of his political leverage. From where you stand, Mr. Pele, didn't the president have the knife and the yam, and then suspended Governor Fubara had no choice but to bow?
Bukola, your analysis is on point, and a bit disturbing for many of us who are citizens of the state and who my focus has always been on the people, not the persons within the political compound in River State. And Yes, the troubling situation and the scenario as it plays out is the fact that none of us have been able to obtain even the most versatile and revered journalists in the country have not been able to unveil the actual condition that were given to Fubara. We've been seeing speculations, and unfortunately, even my kinsman Fubara, who is in the eye of the storm, have not been able to clarify what exactly are the conditions that he was giving. They seems to be playing it close to their chest, what the actual conditions are. It's very intriguing to me, even as I've been analyzing the situation in Rivers State. I have not been able to dissect the actual conditions that we're giving, you know. However, it is indeed troubling for many of Fubara's followers that have not been able to actually know, even when some of them have met with him, the details of the conditions. But going by what we are hearing, what is making round is that in the social media or the mainstream media, the fact that one, he was told he wasn't going to contest for the position of governor in 2027. Nobody knows whether it's true, absolutely true, or false. The other thing about giving the whole 23 local government chairmanship to Yosom Wike, I don't know whether he's going to divide himself into 23 and contest for all the local government chairman position, you know, or whether he would enthuse himself into all his cronies who would then contest, and then he would sit as the more or less like the one who controls everybody from a single position, you know. So there is no clarity in terms of what was actually given to Fubara to execute. If going by what we know, if it takes to that, then he will be a lame dog governor, because definitely everybody that is being either sponsored or pushed by the FCT minister will be loyal to him and not loyal to the governor. So I don't know what kind of governor he would turn out to be in the remaining 2 years, and what his political future will look like going forward. And I can tell you, if truly and really he signed into all the conditions that we're hearing, then he has really committed political suicide, because I don't see him moving forward politically. Although Fubara that I know is not desperate about anything. He just wants his peace, and that's it. But the focus here, Bukola, is not Fubara, is the office that he occupies. What matters to me, and I've said it, and I've become a crying analyst, and I make no apologies, because my heart goes for the people. I stand first for the people of Rivers State. We are the one that is bearing the brunt. It's like 3 elephants now are fighting for the soul of Rivers State, the president, FCT minister, and the Fubara himself, as well as, in fact, 4, as well as the assembly, the lawmakers, the now celebrated 27 lawmakers, who seems to be laughing and, you know, taking their political scores to the bank. Fantastic analysis by Geoffrey when he was reeling out the data and then telling us where he was throwing the data into the bank. However, it's a very concerning situation. And for heaven's sake, thank God I have the opportunity to be on national television. Please, the time has come for these politicians to leave Rivers people alone. We've suffered so much. the level of injustice, the slap on our face, the treatment as if we don't matter, yet we provide succor for the economy of the country. We make the State House what it is by the oil money, which comes from this same river state that they are toying with. Unfortunately, some of the rivers indigene are the one behind this very unkind treatment
Mr. Pele.
of River State.
Let's take it to Prof. Prof, you're not from Rivers, but you watch the space closely. And some, as Bukola said, some are saying the governor has lost leverage to the point of surrender, that it wasn't a reconciliation. In fact, that was further amplified when he met with the support base and said, look, for those of you who are thinking about local government chairmanship, forget it. One wonders if you are a supporter of the governor, for instance, politicians is about interest. And then maybe the boys were thinking, now that you've reconciled, what is there for us? And you come and tell them, well, if those of you who are looking at local government, think again. I don't know what support is going to get from that. So there are three things I want to point out that I want you to speak to on this issue of Fubara and Wike and the soul of Rivers politics. One, the argument about local government structure. Clearly, with the remarks of the governor, that seemed to have been out of his control. We don't know what it is with the second term. We can only just guess. The issue about state resource management and control, that we will never get to know until we get to know. So my question is, if you want to hazard a guess based on what the resolution was in 2023, where the governor had to do 7 of the 8 things that was part of the resolution, the assembly members were to do 1. What do you think is the main thing that the governor had to kind of surrender and agree to for this peace to be what it is, or arrive to where it is right now, this fragile peace? And can you hazard a guess to the effect that you will even have a second term? I'm talking about his political future here.
Yeah, thank you very much. There are 2 perspectives on this. First of all, is he stooping down to conquer? Or is he proving that actually he was a nymph? He was actually chosen to be governor precisely because he had no nerves. This is what we have to know. It's very remarkable that all the people that supported him, some sticking out their necks, he literally threw them under the bus. We don't know if eventually he does something dramatic, let's say after everything normalizes and he decides to resign in protest, then people will start looking at it in a different way. But I agree, it is about that office, not about Fubara. It's also a statement. However he manages the crisis is a statement. This is a guy who came out and said, you know, at a point, the jungle had matured, meaning he was ready to put up a fight. If you believe on a principle, you fight. Even if you lose fighting, then at least, you know, it will be established that you are fighting for your principle and that the outcome was not what you wanted. But to just acquiesce the way he seems to have done, we don't know the details, it's something that leaves sour taste in the mouth of many people who showed sympathy for him. And if I were also the people that were being mentioned as the godfathers, I will also have to think of power is very transient. When this is all over, how will the people of my state remember me? And then for the center, the President Tinubu that was trying to broker the peace, we will also have to ask what is his own interest. Obviously, with what we believe is happening in the North, with the North said to be withdrawing, I say allegedly withdrawing its support for the presidency, we believe if that hypothesis is true, we believe then he was beginning to try to think of rethinking his political geography. So to create a constituency of support in Rivers, and that means given the structure, if you control the local government chairman, then it means essentially then you get the votes, because you know Nigerian system, if you want to manipulate the votes, you start it from that grassroots. If that actually is the thinking of the government or the president, again, is only a speculation. If that actually is the truth, what if it doesn't work out? How will the people of that area remember you? And even people that are decamping now do not take their words on television to be the truth. We make a distinction between public and private morality. When you hurt people, if they feel you have humiliated them, they have a way of taking a revenge in an asymmetric manner. They cannot come and confront you, but they will do it in their own ways. So I think what is happening, is actually unfortunate, because in a civilian dispensation, we have a sole administrator ruling by fiat. And I think it's for me, I agree, it's a slap, it's a humiliation to the people of Rivers State. And I thought, many lawyers have argued that it's unconstitutional, and I thought the president, with many people were also speculating, May 29 will be the time to reinstate him, and then, or June 12. At the same time now, even people that originally were supporting Fubara were beginning to think, oh, this man doesn't even have a backbone. So we are now back to a situation where the issue is about the Rivers people, not necessarily about people looking at 2027, about people trying to massage their ego by showing that, look, I have won this political battle. It is, I agree, going to be about the people of the Rivers. It is going to being about the goose that lays the golden egg.
And so there are more lessons that we may need to reflect on, and I want them to come from you, Mr. Pele, this time around, on our democratic value. We heard in the President's Democracy Day address where he said if the opposition thinks that he would intervene in their political crisis, then they have something else coming. But we see his intervention in the Rivers case. So what's different about Rivers case? Why did a sitting president of the ruling party need to intervene in the political crisis in the opposition in Rivers State? Mr. Pele, that's for you.
Well, Bukola, I am a little bit circumspect when I look at the president, what he's saying, and his body language. And the most troubling aspect of the demeanor of Mr. President is the fact that he was yesterday seen as a fighter and defender of democracy. And today, he seems to be towing what may look like a different cause, sometimes not taking into cognizance whether he is actually pursuing the values of democracy. And I want to be very objective here. It's unfortunate the way things are playing, and what it will portend politically, again, for the people of Rivers State and the outcome of what is being done. So, succinctly put, Bukala, it seems to me that what is playing out is very much looking like a state capture. Capture the state, make sure that you breathe on the neck of the people, and ensure that the state will go to the ruling party at the end of the day. Well, there are better ways to do that and still get it in a democratic way. And that is find out if the people that you think knows the state, has the political machinery, whether they have actually won the heart of the people, And that's one thing that is concerning to me about Fubara. This was a political rising star. He emerged as a rock star artist, political artist, and garnered a lot of support. Fubara, if you put Fubara maybe yesterday and put Wike, and in a free and fair election, Fubara will flood Wike. But I don't know whether that is still the case today, because he had a lot of political momentum. He had a lot of support. And I'm telling you, grassroots support. The youths were out for him. Women were out for him. And all of a sudden, he started by what we described initially as political statement. You know, my spirit have left government house, you know, blah, 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 blah. And before you know it, he's narrowing down his support. And like Prof said, you know, it seems to me, I may not be very clear on this, that all the people who supported him has been thrown under the bus. But nobody knows because these politicians are strategists par excellence. So nobody knows. There's a possibility that all the people you see, because none of them, they are no longer talking. Okay. They probably must have been settled, or he's working with them remotely, you know. But bottom line, like I said, my heart goes out for my people. Okay. We are the one that will suffer the most. But a lot of things will change because power belongs to the people. Okay. And the way things are playing out, they can still take the money, which I don't advise. Do not do it. You know, they can still take their money and vote their conscience. But I don't know how that will play out because no matter how much you try to struggle, if you take the money of the people or somebody, you are bound by obligation, you know, at least of morality that looks like. All right, Mr.
Pele, because of time, we're totally, thank you for your thoughts. We're totally out of time. That means, you know, when we talk about these things, the more we talk about it, it feels like the more there's more to be said. So let's watch the coming days. I must thank you both, Jacob Pele, CEO and founder of TAF Africa, for denying yourself sleep and joining us from the US. Thank you, sir. Professor Jideofor Adibe is a professor of political science and international relations from Nasarawa State University in Kefi. Thank you, sir, as well, for joining us from our Abuja studios. Thank you. All right, we will take a quick break. When we come back, we douse things down away from the hard talk around politics and politicking to zooming in on Nollywood in just a moment. Stay with us. Welcome back. So let's take a breather from politics now and delve and dive into the beautiful and colorful world of Nollywood that continues to unfold in many beautiful ways. And this time we're celebrating a beautiful transition from content creation into movie. And the masterminds behind this big deal here with us on the program. They join us from our Abuja studio. Let's welcome Wike Bezina, actor, comedian, content creator. And right beside him there, we also have Moses Jonah, a movie director. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to the Morning Brief.
Good morning. Thank you very much.
Beautiful. I'm glad that you can hear me. I'm going to start with you, Moike. How far, what's the message from the Husbands Association of Nigeria? How are you guys doing?
Well, we are very, very fine. We are very fine. We thank God. I wasn't expecting that. I didn't know you've seen it.
Well, I'm representing the other side now, and I'm wondering if you've forgiven all the wives for all the sins that they've committed against the association. We're going to repent and do better. But let's go straight into it now. Wike, tell us about Akate, the movie, the message, and the relevance for this time. I wonder if you can hear me. Can you hear me, Emoike?
All right. Well, I think we're having a bit of an issue, but maybe we'll take a look at some of the things they've done. I think if you follow Moike properly, you see him on the social media. If our producer is ready with some of the work they've done, and then we'll come back to them as we sort out that audio challenge. In just a moment. Stay with us. All right, so I've seen a lot of people I'm familiar with. I know their skit name. I really don't know their real name. But at least Charles and OJ is there. With some Maleke there, it looks like a galvanization, a conglomeration of a lot of actors from Benin City. And you can see the feel of the language as well. Let's go to Moses. Mike, we'll come to you in just a moment. Let's see whether we can get better conversation in terms of the audio quality with Moses. Moses, tell us about why comedy is important at this time.
In the early 90s and 2000. And recently, I found out that we don't have that genre of filmmaking again in our space. Most of them are skits, and the likes of Ukwa, the likes of late Mr. Ibu, it's almost gone, that the Gen Z generation only see comedy as a skit. And it's high time we bring this relief to a lot of Gen Z to see that comedy is beyond skits. Because these days when you talk to Gen Z, let's go to cinema and watch film, they say, skits, 3 minutes, I've watched skits and I've laughed and I'm okay, so there's no need for that. So presently, we really need to bring back comedy, full-time comedy. And that was why we had to align those the Gen Z generation of skit makers and the veterans of the Charles Inojes and the going to the sets to be able to give a transition and a merge between the two generations. So comedy is very important in our present-day filmmaking.
All right, Zina, let's talk to you. I saw the Charleses, Inoje, Awurum. I think the person I was trying to remember his real name is Pluto. I watch him on TikTok. I like TikTok a lot. So how did it feel now putting this together in a proper full-length movie? And how, we always ask that question about how challenging. Was it really challenging for you, given the fact that you've done this skit over and over? Was this just second nature, or there was a challenge in putting this together in terms of your character?
Okay, I think there is some level of difference between skit making and movie making. Because for skit makers, it's kind of short. So we are used to doing 3 minutes content, 5 minutes content. So we actually like it when it's short, because when you are doing skit making, you have to be consistent. You're dropping so many contents. You're dropping like 10 contents in a week, and it takes a whole lot of time. So before now, when they call us to come and do movie, because of the time it's going to take, we tend to run from it. But skit making has gotten to that point where it has gotten so much acceptance. You understand? And our fan base transcends from the young people to the old people. So it has gotten a very large acceptance. So as a result, we must do something that everybody can appreciate. You can do something that everybody will like. You understand? So that is why we had to take it to another level. And for proper movie, it requires some level of skill, some level of professionalism. We have to do, because most of the time in our skit making, we don't use scripts. But this time around, we have to use scripts. We have to learn a lot of production skills, the terminologies, and the whole system. You understand? But the difference may not be too huge, since Sometimes skit makers, we call them, how do you put it now? We call them upcoming actors because they already have the skill, they already have the acting skills, but just that there are some things, some basic knowledge about professional filmmaking that we don't have. But to me, it was a learning process for me, and I appreciate my director and my producer for helping me through the process. And most of my colleagues, they liked the process entirely.
So there seems to be a deliberate attempt to, you know, change the appetites of the audience from consuming 3 to 5 minute skits to, you know, whole movie with the same content in terms of, you know, light-hearted comedy to make people laugh and forget their sorrow. So I'm bringing this to you now, Moses. Do you see the same transition? Do you see any challenge with, you know, the appetite of the audience in embracing, you know, bigger content in terms of comedy?
Yes, 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 because most times I think the passion to do this started from those of us that travel very well on the highway. Sometimes we'll travel with these celebrities, these skit makers, the police officers and the security agencies. Like, I watch your skit, and like, how do we put this thing together like a film so that people can go to cinema and have a full fun of it? Because most times skit is almost, they don't end the way people want it to end, or they don't even have that enough space for people to enjoy more. So that's why we now said, okay, the whole of Akate is an assemble of all flanges skits I had ever made. We had to put them together and make it like a film. So for comedy coming into the industry space is going to be a huge relief, especially when we have a society where everybody is seeing things in different directions. I feel comedy, as at when we started early days, when we were watching the likes, so I keep mentioning those comedians, those comedy films in the early days like Ukwa, Aki and Popo, it reunites a society. We were all reunited. You see, people of a community can just come and sit down and be gisting about comedy, but we don't do that with films these days. So comedy, I feel, it can stay very well in our society and help so much.
So let's go back to where we started from now. Talk to us briefly about the movie, the trailer we just saw now, and the relevance of the message to this time.
Okay, Akate is, like I always say, it's not just a movie, it's a movement. We tried to talk about the issues of irregular migration, especially from the host community of where we shot Akate. We shot in Edo State. And if you listen to the language very well, anybody from Edo who has friends from Edo State can really relate with the pronunciation, the use of language, even the location, the red soil and the building. We talk on issues of irregular migration, which the state government has been doing so much to see that irregular migration become an issue of the past. Then we also talk of the issue of cultism. We're making people laugh, but we're deliberately dropping messages. I think the last private screening we did in Benin, the Crown Prince was there, and he spoke enlighteningly about the messages that was passed through irregular migration, cultism, abuse, intimidation, and the issue of those who travel out of the country after many years. They come back, and at the end of the day, they feel cheated, they feel deprived, they feel like their effort was not celebrated. So Akate just came back home to enjoy what he has been sending money for, enjoy what he has been spending, and all of a sudden the whole city became so new to him, and there was a lot of challenge he could encounter. I think that's what we're just trying to explore, to make sure that people in diaspora can connect, people in Nigeria can connect, and people who intend to come to Africa or travel out can connect also.
Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of high-octane drama there in some of the scenes that we've seen, compelling. I'm looking forward to watching it already. But we must anchor at this point, and thank you. We've been talking with Emoike Onyeogbezina, actor, comedian. You know him more as King Zina, and the movie director as well of Akate. He has produced other movies, by the way, a long list of them. Moses Jonah. Thank you so much. And So let's head straight into some of the things that you've been saying on social media, particularly response to our question of the day. But before we get there, we have something interesting to show.
Yeah, so let's show this video before we get to... Remember our question. Our question does... Bukola, what's the question again? Is the APC... Should the APC be worried
about the coalition?
About the coalition that has now been formed. But whilst you're getting that feedback, we have some feedback already. I'm going to give you a dashboard. But let's show you a video of this branded plantain chips for... I think this looks like a campaign. Whether this is authorized by the presidency, we do not know. But that's what we see. I don't know where this is, by the way. So this door-to-door, guys, they've been doing a lot. I don't know.
So Jeffrey, is still a healthy 15 to 16 months before the 2027 election.
Yeah, so politicians have looked for a smart way to run around INEC. They've encircled INEC in a very smart way. So you never use the word votes. They'll use every other word but
except
vote. But everything is... But clearly it is campaign.
This is a subtle campaign, whether we like it or not. I wonder if that was seen on, the shelf of a supermarket or it's in a home. We're not quite sure of the detail, but it should form the talking point in the coming days. The approach to subtle campaign and the appropriateness of it all at this time when focus should be on governance and ideas that we're talking about.
Yeah, the INEC is not yet formidable to that. In fact, when it comes to accounting systems, INEC still struggle. But, well, we did ask the question, should the APC be worried about this new coalition that has been formed that has used the ADC as their new SPV, that's a special purpose vehicle? Well, there you have your answer. Should the APC be worried about the coalition? There you have your answer. Yes says about 40 persons who brought in feedback. 40 people said yes, the APC should be worried. But, no, 42. But let's read the feedback.
And so from Fagbenro says, ADC has no structure on ground. ADC is a coalition of opposition for selfish interests, not in the interest of hungry Nigerians.
To be fair, without botching his idea, I think the Labour Party Obedient Movement defied that whole structure talk. They didn't have a structure, they didn't have a governor, they didn't have an assembly member. So 2027, if we're looking at data, has botched the idea of structure, but structure is important, we must say. Veritas says, I want to assure you that APC members are no longer sleeping well because of this coalition, but they will not say it. Even the governors and lawmakers effecting earlier for APC are scared. ADC, here I come. Okay, this sounds like a politician.
Well, Mr. Bwala didn't show any shaking as far as that is concerned. Let's go to Abbas Gata, who says, APC shouldn't only worry about the coalition, but should be prepared to face the challenge. Certainly, the coalition will get the support of Nigerians as events unfold. That's from Gata.
Mwana Okechukwu says, good morning, crew. Of course, APC should be worried about the coalition of... After all this is the same way APC itself started, though I just hope the coalition will be for betterment of Nigeria, not for personal gains.
And Na says APC need not to worry because the coalition party is going, it's ADC actually, the coalition shaped into ADC. Well, you say it's not going to be thrown into confusion as to who will be the presidential flag bearer. Personal ambition will override national interest.
Okay, so let's get straight to... Okay, this is the last one. We'll just read the first paragraph because it's a long read. The APC should not be worried about at all because if you watch carefully, the ADC leaders are people whom have governed before and they were part of the failure Nigeria has today. So it's a long read. Okay, try and keep your comments very short so that we can read it as quickly as possible. But let's show you the summary of... Yes, that's the summary. Should APC be worried about the coalition? 40% says yes. 42% said no. I like this kind of competition, this contention. I like this. So the no's have it on today's for the people that filed in out of the 82 persons.
All right, if you like, as they say at the National Assembly, the nays have it.
The nays have it. APC should not be worried according to this data right here.
But interesting days ahead for all of us. But we must thank you. Your feedback is important because that's how we know you're talking to us and we amplify your voice. But Sunrise Daily is up next at the top of the hour. I'm Jeffrey Uzama. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for being our company today. We'll be back again tomorrow. I am Bukola Koka. Bye for now.